What I'm about to tell you will completely flip everything you think you know about attraction. There's one psychological principle that separates men who get chosen from men who get ignored. And it has nothing to do with looks, money, or even charm. Most men spend their entire lives doing the exact opposite of what actually works. They think attraction is about addition, adding more compliments, more attention, more effort. But here's what nobody tells you. Attraction is about subtraction. The one thing that makes any woman want you, even when she claims she's not interested, is so simple it sounds almost stupid. But it's rooted in evolutionary psychology and it works every single time, without exception. By the end of this video, you'll understand why 90% of men fail with women before they even start talking. You'll see why the nice guy approach is actually sabotaging your chances. And most importantly, you'll learn the one behavior that flips the script and makes her chase you instead. This isn't theory. This is battle-tested psychology that I've seen transform thousands of men from invisible to irresistible. So stick around, because what you're about to learn will change everything. Here's the brutal reality: society has lied to you about what women want. You've been told to be nice, to be available, to show interest, to pursue. Tell her how you feel, they say. Show her you care. Prove you're different from other guys. Every single piece of that advice is designed to make you fail. Why? Because it turns you into what psychologists call a sure thing. And human beings, especially women, are wired to devalue sure things. It's not their fault, it's biology. Think about the last time you wanted something badly. Was it something you could easily get, or something that felt just out of reach? Your brain is programmed to chase what's scarce and dismiss what's abundant. Women's brains work the same way. When you make yourself completely available, when you're always there, always responding, always agreeing, you become psychologically invisible. You become wallpaper. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment you become uncertain, unpredictable, or unavailable, something shifts in her brain. Suddenly, you're not wallpaper anymore. You're a puzzle she needs to solve. The one thing that makes any woman want you is actually the absence of the thing most men give too much of. And that thing is certainty. Let me introduce you to something called the uncertainty principle of attraction. Neuroscientist Dr. Gregory Burns discovered that the human brain releases more dopamine, the pleasure chemical, when anticipating an uncertain reward than when receiving a certain one. Translation: your brain literally gets more excited about what it can't predict. Women experience this on steroids when it comes to men. When she knows exactly how you feel, when she can predict your every move, when she's certain you'll always be there, her brain stops producing the chemicals that create attraction. You become as exciting as her morning coffee routine. But uncertainty? Uncertainty lights up her brain like a Christmas tree. When she doesn't know if you like her, when she can't predict what you'll do next, when she's not sure if you're interested or just being nice, that's when her mind starts racing. That's when she starts thinking about you when you're not around. This is why the bad boy gets the girl while the nice guy gets the friendship speech. The bad boy is uncertain. The nice guy is predictable. But here's the game changer: you don't have to be a bad boy to create uncertainty. You just have to understand how to control one specific thing that most men give away for free. Here it is. The one thing that will make any woman want you, even when she's not interested. Control your emotional availability. Not your physical availability. Not your time. Your emotional availability. Most men make themselves emotionally available from the first conversation. They share their feelings, their thoughts, their reactions to everything she says and does. They become an open book that she can read in 5 minutes. Emotional availability is your ace in the hole, and most men throw it on the table before the game even starts. Here's what I mean: when she texts you something funny, instead of immediately responding with "haha, that's hilarious, you're so funny," you might just respond with an emoji with a serious face or not respond at all for a few hours. When she compliments you, instead of immediately complimenting her back, you might just say thanks and change the subject. When she tells you about her day, instead of immediately sharing everything about yours, you might listen and then say something mysterious like "sounds like you had quite the adventure." You're not being mean. You're not being cold. You're simply not giving her complete emotional access to you. You're making her wonder what you're really thinking. This drives women absolutely wild because they're used to men who spill their entire emotional contents within the first few conversations. When you control your emotional availability, you create emotional scarcity. And scarcity is the foundation of all desire. Here's a real-world example. Imagine two men are interested in the same woman. Man A texts her every day, tells her she's beautiful, shares his feelings openly, and makes it clear he's completely smitten. He's emotionally available 24/7. Man B texts her occasionally, gives her genuine but brief compliments, keeps some mystery about his life, and doesn't always respond immediately. His emotional availability is limited. Which man do you think she's going to be thinking about at night? Man B, every single time. Why? Because her brain is trying to solve the puzzle of who he really is. She's wondering if he likes her, what he's doing when he doesn't respond, whether she's special to him or just another friend. That wondering creates obsession. Man A removed all uncertainty. There's nothing for her brain to figure out, nothing to chase, nothing to wonder about. He's like a movie that spoiled its own ending in the first 5 minutes. The beautiful irony is that by withholding your emotional availability, you actually become more valuable in her eyes. Scarcity creates value. Abundance destroys it. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. This is about understanding basic human psychology and not sabotaging yourself by giving away too much too soon. Controlling your emotional availability creates what psychologists call a curiosity gap. The space between what she knows about you and what she wants to know. This gap is pure psychological gold. When there's a curiosity gap, her brain literally cannot let it go. It's like having a song stuck in your head, but instead of a melody, it's questions about you. What's he really thinking? Does he like me or is he just being nice? Why doesn't he text me as much as other guys? What makes him different? Every unanswered question creates more interest. Every mystery makes you more magnetic. Most men try to close the curiosity gap by explaining themselves, sharing their feelings, and being completely transparent. They think this builds connection, but it actually kills attraction. The men who understand female psychology do the opposite. They widen the curiosity gap. They become more interesting by revealing less, not more. Here's how this looks in practice. Instead of explaining why you took 2 hours to text back, you don't explain at all. Instead of telling her exactly how you feel about her, you show interest through actions but keep your words measured. Instead of sharing every detail about your day, you give her highlights and let her imagination fill in the blanks. The curiosity gap is your secret weapon. Guard it with your life. Here's where this gets really powerful. Controlling your emotional availability works especially well with women who claim they're not interested. Why? Because these women are used to men who become more available, more eager, and more emotionally invested the moment they sense resistance. When you do the opposite, when you become less emotionally available in response to her lack of interest, you completely flip the script. Suddenly, she's dealing with a man who doesn't fit her usual pattern. She's used to guys who chase harder when she pulls back. But you're pulling back too. This creates cognitive dissonance in her brain. The pattern she expects isn't happening. Instead of you chasing her, she finds herself wondering why you're not. Why isn't he trying harder? Why doesn't he seem bothered that I'm not interested? What makes him different from other guys? And here's the kicker, the moment she starts wondering why you're not chasing, she starts chasing. It's not conscious. She's not sitting there thinking, I need to chase this guy. It happens at a subconscious level. Her brain starts working to solve the puzzle of your indifference. This is why you'll often see women become more interested in men who seem less interested in them. It's not that they want what they can't have, it's that uncertainty triggers their attraction mechanism. Controlling your emotional availability isn't binary. There are levels to it, and understanding these levels is crucial. Level 1, Response Control. This is about when and how you respond to her communications. You don't always respond immediately. You don't always match her energy. If she sends you a paragraph, you might respond with a sentence. If she sends you 3 texts, you might respond to 1. Level 2, Emotional Transparency Control. This is about what you reveal about your inner world. You don't share every thought, feeling, or reaction. You let her wonder what you're really thinking. You keep some of your cards close to your chest. Level 3, Validation Control. This is the advanced level. You don't automatically validate everything she says or does. You don't always agree with her. You have your own opinions and you're not afraid to express them, even if they differ from hers. Most men operate at level 0, they have no control over any of these areas. They respond immediately to everything, share their every thought, and agree with whatever she says to avoid conflict. Master level 1, and you'll immediately become more interesting than 70% of men. Master level 2, and you'll be more intriguing than 90% of men. Master level 3, and you'll be practically irresistible. Before we go further, let me warn you about the mistakes that will destroy this entire approach. Mistake 1, overdoing it. Some men learn about emotional unavailability and swing the pendulum too far. They become cold, distant, or rude. This isn't attractive, it's just annoying. The key is calibration. You want to be warm but mysterious, not cold and distant. Mistake 2, applying it inconsistently. You can't be emotionally unavailable on Monday and then spill your heart out on Tuesday. Consistency is crucial. Your emotional availability should be controlled, not erratic. Mistake 3, using it as a test. Some men withhold emotional availability as a way to test whether a woman likes them. This mindset is toxic and will backfire. You control your emotional availability because it's attractive, not because you're playing games. Mistake 4, forgetting to show interest. Controlling your emotional availability doesn't mean showing no interest. You still need to show that you find her attractive and enjoy her company. You're just not showing her your entire emotional world. Mistake 5, explaining yourself. The moment you explain why you're being less emotionally available, you destroy the mystery. Never explain the strategy while you're using it. Once you've mastered basic emotional availability control, here are some advanced techniques. 1. The emotional breadcrumb. Occasionally give her a small glimpse into your inner world, then pull back. This creates an addiction-like cycle where she craves more of those glimpses. 2. The strategic vulnerability. Share something meaningful about yourself, but do it rarely and at unexpected moments. This makes those moments incredibly powerful. 3. The interest spike. Occasionally show more interest than usual, then return to your baseline. This creates emotional peaks and valleys that are incredibly addictive. 4. The assumption flip. Instead of asking if she likes you, act as if you already know she does. Then pull back when she expects you to pursue. These techniques should be used sparingly and only after you've mastered the basics. They're like spices, a little goes a long way. Let's go deeper into why this works on a neurological level. When you control your emotional availability, you trigger something called intermittent reinforcement in her brain. This is the same psychological principle that makes gambling addictive. Intermittent reinforcement creates the strongest behavioral conditioning known to psychology. When rewards come unpredictably, the brain becomes obsessed with trying to figure out the pattern. Your controlled emotional availability creates unpredictable rewards of connection and understanding. Sometimes she gets a glimpse of who you really are, sometimes she doesn't. This unpredictability is psychologically addictive. Additionally, you're triggering her attachment system. Humans are wired to pursue what they can't fully obtain or understand. This goes back to our evolutionary need to secure resources and mates. When you're completely emotionally available, you're signaling abundance. When you control that availability, you're signaling scarcity. And scarcity triggers pursuit behavior. On a social level, you're also demonstrating high value. Men with options don't make themselves completely emotionally available to every woman. By controlling your emotional availability, you're communicating that you have standards and choices. Let me give you specific examples of how this looks in different scenarios. 1. Texting, instead of, "Good morning, beautiful. How did you sleep? I hope you have an amazing day." Try saying just "good morning." 2. Compliments, instead of, "You're so gorgeous, I can't stop looking at your photos." Try, "You are looking good," when she posts a picture of her in a nice dress. 3. Dates, instead of, sharing your entire life story and asking about hers, try, sharing interesting stories but leaving some mystery about your background. 4. Conversations, instead of, agreeing with everything she says, try, having your own opinions and expressing them respectfully. 5. Emotions, instead of, "I'm falling for you after 2 weeks," try, showing interest through actions but keeping your feelings measured. The key is calibration. You want to be engaged and interested, just not completely transparent about every thought and feeling. Some men worry that controlling emotional availability is only good for initial attraction. What about relationships? Here's the truth: emotional availability control should evolve, not disappear. In the early stages, you maintain significant control to build attraction and interest. As you move toward a relationship, you gradually become more emotionally available, but you never become completely transparent. Even in long-term relationships, maintaining some emotional mystery keeps attraction alive. Couples who share everything with each other often find that passion dies. The most successful long-term relationships maintain what I call productive mystery, enough emotional availability to create deep connection, but enough control to maintain intrigue. Think of it like this: you're not withholding love or care. You're withholding predictability. You're keeping some parts of yourself as ongoing discoveries rather than an open book. This isn't about being fake or manipulative. It's about understanding that mystery and uncertainty are essential ingredients in lasting attraction. Some women will test your emotional availability control. They might ask why you're being weird or distant. Try to get you to open up more quickly. Accuse you of not being interested. Compare you to more emotionally available men. These are tests. How you handle them determines whether your strategy works or backfires. When she asks why you're being distant, say, "I'm not being distant, I'm just not someone who shares everything immediately." When she tries to get you to open up, say, "I'm an open book when I know someone deserves to read it." When she accuses you of not being interested, say, "If I wasn't interested, I wouldn't be here." When she compares you to other men, say, "I'm not other men." The key is to remain calm, confident, and slightly amused by these tests. Don't get defensive or start explaining yourself extensively. Remember, these tests often indicate that your strategy is working. She wouldn't be trying to crack your emotional code if she wasn't interested in what's behind it. When you truly master emotional availability control, something profound happens. You don't just become more attractive to women, you become more attractive as a person. You develop genuine confidence because you're no longer desperate for approval or validation. You stop being needy because you understand your own value. You become more interesting because you have an inner world that isn't immediately accessible to everyone. This transformation goes beyond dating. It affects how people perceive you in all areas of life. When you're not emotionally available to everyone about everything, people start to wonder what you're really about. They become more interested in your opinions, your thoughts, your perspective. You become the kind of person others want to understand, not the kind they figure out in 5 minutes. The beautiful irony is that by becoming less emotionally available, you actually become more emotionally attractive. People are drawn to what they can't fully grasp. The one thing that makes any woman want you, even when she's not interested, is controlling your emotional availability. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about being selective with your emotional transparency. It's about creating curiosity gaps that her brain needs to fill. It's about becoming psychologically scarce in a world full of emotionally available men. This isn't a trick or a manipulation. It's understanding basic human psychology and not sabotaging yourself by giving away too much too soon. Master this one principle, and you'll never again wonder why women lose interest. You'll understand why the guys who seem less interested often end up being the most desired. The choice is yours. You can keep being completely emotionally available and wonder why attraction fades, or you can control that availability and watch as women start chasing what they can't fully understand. Remember, attraction isn't logical. It's psychological. And psychology has rules. Now you know the most important one. If this video changed how you think about attraction, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights into female psychology. And in the comments, let me know, what's the biggest mistake you've been making with emotional availability? I read every comment, and I might even respond to yours. Until next time, stay strong, stay mysterious, and remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can share is what you choose not to reveal.